Hey everyone, how's it going? So it's no surprise, probably, unless it's your first time here, in which case, welcome, that I like old Pokemon games. Don't get me wrong, I like the new ones too, but the older Pokemon games, there's nostalgia, simplicity, it's just really hard to beat that, sometimes. But the thing is, because they're old, there are issues with them. There are game design choices that made sense at the time that really aren't so fun today. Well, when it comes to Pokémon Crystal, Smith Plays Pokemon has tried to remedy that. He created a ROM hack called Crystal Legacy. This playthrough I'm about to show you, I didn't know very much about the ROM hack. I hadn't even seen the video he made on it, detailing what his ideas were and some changes he made, and there are a lot of changes. There is an entire Google Doc with just hundreds of changes, base stats, moves, everything. If you want to play this ROM hack, this is your Bulbapedia. But as I was saying, this ROM hack attempted to remedy the issues of Pokémon Crystal without turning it into an entirely different game. Now, I'll be honest, I was a little confused. I mean, there already exists a better version of Crystal, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And while those games are kind of old themselves by this point, they definitely are a lot more modern than the original Gold, Silver, Crystal. So I was really curious about what this game would be. So in today's video, I'm going to do what I originally wanted to do when I started a YouTube channel, become a video game reviewer. Provide to you a review, at least from my perspective as someone who likes challenge runs, as someone who plays a lot of retro Pokemon. Is Crystal Legacy worth playing? Is it enjoyable? What were my experiences with it? So let's start where you would start when you play Crystal Legacy, the beginning. In the beginning, you're not going to notice too much different. Apparently the dialogue was a little different, but I never read dialogue in Pokemon games, so I didn't actually know that. Honestly, the biggest change was that youngster Mikey's Pokemon, the first trainer you battle, were Johto Pokemon now, and there were a lot more Pokemon catchable in the grass, including Pichu. I actually decided in this playthrough to use my favorite Pokemon, so if you ever wondered what team would J-Rose use if he was in the game, you're actually gonna find out eventually. But I guess we can skip ahead to Falkner. You can see that I have a Mareep, which you wouldn't normally have in regular Pokemon Crystal, and it easily knocked out Pidgey, and then came out Noctowl. Noctowl still does no Mud Slap, so it is still Falkner as you know, but you may have also noticed a really cool aesthetic change. The menu Pokemon have their own specific icons the way they do in modern Pokemon games. This is a really cool touch that I think could have probably been done in Crystal originally, but is really nice to see. Not a huge gameplay difference, and Cyndaquil beats Noctowl. Honestly, didn't really notice too much different. The original Falkner tends to pick super effective moves as well. So at this point, other than some wild Pokemon differences and a difference in the gym leader, felt like I was playing just Pokemon Crystal. As I show you the Bugsy battle, I had noticed other changes in both wild Pokemon and in the Pokemon Team Rocket was using, but again, so far it didn't feel totally different. I mean, this Ledian was using Psybeam and Reflect, which was definitely more advanced strategy than you'd expect of the AI, but because the Pokemon were pretty weak, I was able to win, although that Cut seemed to do a lot more damage, and that's when I realized that in this game, Cut, after it's not very effective to Quilava, has been changed into a bug move. Interesting, it also has an increased critical hit ratio. Again, the giant Google document has all the various changes to moves, base stats, and yes, Smith Plays Pokemon actually changed base stats in this game, making some Pokemon stronger, some weaker, but mostly just making them stronger. And I guess the reason for this was, although I'm not doing this as a Nuzlocke, if you were to play this game as a Nuzlocke, it is interesting to think that every single Pokemon is somewhat viable, which, having watched his video after the fact, is something he was going for, and I think a really cool concept looking at Pokemon from a modern lens and the way people play Pokemon today. You'll also see examples of this as I get my favorite Pokemon and how many of them have been changed to make them a lot more balanced. When I get to Whitney, you really see my team start to take focus. We have my favorite Pokemon, Kadabra, with Confusion and Thunder Punch. In this game, Kadabra cannot learn Ice Punch or Fire Punch, which was very interesting. It's definitely a way that Kadabra gets super overpowered. You'll also notice Whitney has a Teddy Ursa. Teddy Ursa barely appears in Pokémon Crystal, so giving Whitney it makes a lot of sense. Miltank went for rollout, but in this game, Miltank has a Miracle Berry equipped. It's the Gen 2 equivalent of the Lum Berry, and it heals all statuses. Now I'm using one of my favorite Pokemon, Weepinbell, trying to knock out Miltank, and unfortunately I'm unable to. I have a Flaffy from Falconer's Gym. It's not able to knock it out, and so for the first time, I actually don't first try victory a gym leader. Pretty interesting. Of course, we're missing a lot of my favorite Pokemon that would easily have been able to beat Whitney, but in my second attempt, I decide to play this a little smarter. I have Sleep Powder, I have Growth, and since we're not playing Generation 1, Growth will stack with Razor Leaf, even if we get a critical hit, which isn't guaranteed. And so we can do a lot of damage to Clefairy, to Teddy Ursa, and even to Miltank, even though it got a critical hit. Razor Leaf's a 2-hit KO, and yeah, I mean, this is why Weepinbell is one of the best Pokemon. Alright, so thus far, I would say the game is a little different, but at this point, I really wasn't understanding what the big deal was. It just felt like a slightly modified version of Crystal. Why wouldn't I just play Heart Gold, Soul Silver? Well, let me show you Morty's battle. That's where Smith Plays really starts to become creative and make some really interesting design changes that make the game both feel very Gen 2-y, but also like a totally different experience and a much harder experience. I actually have my final team in place at this point, and I lead with Houndour, and you can see Morty leads with Haunter, not with Ghastly, but we one-shot it with Bite, but something interesting is about to happen. Morty sends out Stantler. As a big fan of Pokemon Stadium 2, this felt very on-brand. A Pokemon you'd associate with Ghost Pokemon, catchable near the route, but not a ghost itself, and something that offers a pretty big challenge. My Girafarig was able to take it out, but then comes out Misdreavus, which is barely used in the original game. It's able to knock out Girafarig, and then you can see it goes for Shadow Ball, which does a ton of damage, more than you'd expect. Gengar is also going for Shadow Ball, but don't worry, I have my Eevee here. It's not quite Vaporeon, and Gengar still has the Dream Eater strat, but here is where we have Kadabra to knock out Gengar, and if you were wondering why it seemed like Shadow Ball did more than it otherwise should, in this game, Dark and Ghost have actually swapped physicality. In Generation 1 to 3, whether a move was physical or special was determined by its typing. They decided that Ghost type would be physical and Dark type would be special. In later games, however, whether a move was physical or special was determined by what the move did. And so funny enough, I believe every Dark move from Generation 2 ended up becoming physical, and Shadow Ball, the most prominent Ghost move, became special. So Smith Plays just decided to swap the two, make Dark physical, Ghost special. That really caught me off guard, especially with the trainers, and although I had Kadabra to take out Gengar, if I didn't have a Pokemon as fast and as strong as Kadabra, that Gengar with Shadow Ball would have swept through my entire team. So, really cool, very interesting change. I like it. It feels in the spirit of Generation 2. It's fairly simple, and yet it adds a bit of a modern twist based on what we know now. So far, the game has seemed pretty easy because it has been pretty easy, but as I insinuated earlier, the difficulty is about to ramp up. As we battle Chuck, you'll notice he has 4 Pokemon, not 2, and he has Hitmontop, which thankfully I confuse and it hits itself in confusion. He also has Sudowoodo, which is not, in fact, a fighting type. I have Vaporeon, my favorite evolution, and Sudowoodo beats it. Then I have Chinchou, I use Surf, and I'm able to knock out the Sudowoodo. Out comes Primeape with Karate Chop, which does a ton of damage and knocks out Chinchou. I still have my Kadabra, so I'll go for Psybeam and knocks out Primeape, but now out comes Poliwrath. It's level 31, and it puts me to sleep. Smart strategy. Don't go for Dynamic Punch right away, put me to sleep, but Girafarig is able to come in and knock it out. I'm still winning on my first try, but I can tell the gym leaders are using more advanced strategies, they have more Pokemon, and the Pokemon they have are not strictly adhering to the type. Thus far, it's only resulted in 1 loss to Whitney, but I had a feeling that trend probably wouldn't continue. And unfortunately, I was correct. Jasmine leads with Skarmory. I do have Houndoom, and like we talked about, Flame Wheel is a special move because it's fire. I switch in Vaporeon after I'm confused. Drill Peck does a ton of damage and actually outspeeds. Notice that Skarmory is at level 35, the level that Steelix is in the original Crystal. And then we get Corsola. Wasn't expecting Surf Corsola, and even my Weepinbell's Razor Leaf unable to knock out Corsola in one hit. Now out comes Scizor, a perfect counter to Weepinbell. I'm just gonna let it faint, but it goes for Metal Claw, knocks me out. Normally I'd use Kadabra with Fire Punch, not a thing, and Scizor has Twin Needle, knocks me out. That's probably gonna knock out Girafarig as well. I go for Rock Smash, not nearly good enough. You may wonder why not Houndoom, because I was waiting for the rain to stop. It did. Houndoom knocks out Scizor, and now out comes Magneton. It uses Thunder, meaning Jasmine is going for Rain Dance Thunder strats. The timing didn't work out, so I'm able to knock it out. But Steelix has Earthquake, as opposed to just Iron Tail, and without Fire Punch, it actually has Crunch. And you can see my face. That was the look. That is the look of a person who was not expecting what just happened. And yes, I was underleveled, but unequivocally, this Jasmine, both in terms of Pokemon, levels, and strategy, is leaps and bounds ahead of what we're used to. You might think, however, it was just the element of surprise. If we knew what Jasmine was going to do, we might be able to stop her. I mean, Swagger is pretty dangerous because we don't want to hit ourselves in confusion. So this time, why don't we just... I mean, we're going to sacrifice Vaporeon again because it's not really needed, but why don't we plan better? Why don't we just adjust now that we know what's going to happen? Well, I try to do just that, although I get really unlucky with Corsola getting an Ancient Power boost. Thankfully, it's not fast enough to knock out Kadabra, but it is tanky enough to tank the Thunder Punch, which is a special move. Steelix comes out early, which is good, because if Chinchou outspeeds, Surf... Oh, it doesn't knock it out. Well, maybe I will have to level up. Houndoom will knock out the Steelix, and now Corsola is going to come out, but it's so weak, Bite, even though it's a physical move, will knock it out. Skarmory has no HP, so it's going to get knocked out. And now Magneton, unfortunately, I didn't have a ground Pokemon to swap in. I do have Girafarig, and it is going to knock out Magneton, but Scizor is going to come out and beat me. It goes to show you it wasn't the element of surprise. Jasmine is legitimately difficult. But I did come with a better strategy this time. Although Jasmine helps out a little bit swapping immediately into Corsola. We get a lucky critical hit, but it doesn't matter too much. But this time, I'm going to swap into Chinchou. I don't have an electric move yet. I think I forgot to teach it one, or I erased it by accident. So that's a little annoying. But Houndoom's going to come in. I decided to swap in Vaporeon. I actually meant to swap in Weepinbell there. That was actually a mistake because I could have used Vaporeon for Steelix. Just a small error on my part. Oh well, I can swap Weepinbell in here for Thunder, try to put Magneton to sleep, but actually Thunder knocks it out, which surprised me a little bit. Now I'm going to go into Girafarig, go for Rock Smash, Thunder knocks me out, and it looks like we're going to lose, right? But surprisingly, we don't. Why? Because I get a really clutch burn in a second. I'm going to go for Flame Wheel, it burns, thus Steelix doesn't knock me out, and we outspeed and knock out Scizor. Had I left Vaporeon, it probably would have been able to surf. And honestly, I was just kind of wanting to see what the opponent would do. I was playing this not as a challenge run, but kind of to review it. So seeing how the opponent reacted to me was interesting. The AI seems pretty good, more able to make switches right away, predict what I'm going to do seemingly, and have combo moves. Much better than the original Pokémon Crystal, and it's unsurprising that underleveled it took me a few attempts to win. How about Price? Will he be even harder than he is normally? You betcha. Price doesn't lead with Seal, he leads with Cloyster, a physical defensive monster, who is water type and is able to not quite one-shot Houndoom, hence it's one of my favorites. Then comes out Dugong. Now, I'm going to swap in Vaporeon. I get the water move. Unfortunately, since it's Gen 2, you may notice no water absorb. There are no abilities in this game. There's no natures, there's no double battles. Smith Plays didn't add any mechanics that weren't already in Generation 2. He just simply tried to make the mechanic that already existed better. which I actually think is very interesting and what sets this apart from a game like Heart Gold Soul Silver. What also sets it apart is that my Kadabra's Thunder Punch is a special move, so I'm able to use it to knock out the Dugong. But now, Sneasel, the perfect counter to Kadabra, comes out. Unfortunately, I don't have a good swap in, so I'm going to have to sacrifice Kadabra. And now, I don't know what I'm going to use. Hopefully Houndoom outspeeds. It doesn't, and Sneasel goes for Blizzard. Now, I've been told that Sneasel had its special attack buffed significantly so that it actually could do good damage. Its physical attack isn't too shabby either. That feint attack did quite a lot. And then I misclicked. I meant to go for Stomp. That's probably going to be the battle. And unfortunately, I'm not able to see what the final Pokemon is, although we can be pretty sure it's going to be Piloswine, because why would they change that? Price is a heck of a lot better, and Sneasel being buffed to basically being just a little weaker than a Weavile is with much better special attack makes it pretty scary. You'll also notice I've caught a lot of Pokemon. You'll also notice I'm not resetting after battles. This is, again, just a casual playthrough. Speaking of which, Weepinbell got outsped by Cloyster. The goal is to use my favorite Pokemon and to have fun, to figure out what exactly is going on in this hack, and to see how good it is and whether I could recommend it. And if it's fun, maybe then we can do some challenge runs. But honestly, I'm being pretty challenged at this point. Thunder Punch one-shots, but only because of a critical hit. Sneasel comes out, and that is a good swap in for Houndoom, but then it goes for Reflect. That's really smart. It won't affect Flame Wheel, but it will affect potentially Girafarig's Rock Smash. I do mostly have physical Pokemon, thankfully. Lantern still doesn't have an electric move. It'll get one relatively soon. This was a mistake on my end, but we're not going to reset. Again, doesn't really matter. Dugong knocks out the Lantern, and then Kadabra is able to use Thunder Punch, survive Surf, and knock it out with Thunder Punch. Jinx comes out, so there was actually Jinx that I missed as well. It goes for Shadow Ball, a special move, but since Reflect is down, Bite knocks it out. Now comes out the final Pokemon, Piloswine, with Earthquake. It tanks the Flame Wheel, knocks me out, but I have Vaporeon. Even though it has a berry, I actually outspeed. Piloswine is still fairly slow, even with its buffs, and Surf is able to knock it out. Really cool, really interesting team for price. And this is when my opinion on the hack started to go from, okay, to, interesting. It had gotten pretty hard pretty quick. However, this would also be a good time to mention something I didn't like with the hack. It still kept the Team Rocket section, and although they did buff a lot of the trainers and give them more interesting Pokemon, so you're not just fighting Rattata and Zubat and Ekans again and again, it's still a lot of long, tedious battles that are fairly easy. To be fair, the hack is balanced for that, and all the levels are buffed on the gym leaders, so that by beating Team Rocket, your Pokemon are at a more appropriate level to fighting the gym leaders, but it's still a section I really don't like. Heart Gold Soul Silver has it, pretty much every iteration of Gold, Silver, and Crystal has it, and I just don't find it very fun. I will say, however, this game does a better job balancing levels, and at least making this section feel like a good place to level up. But because they do use some annoying troll strategies here and there, I could imagine in a Nuzlocke losing a Pokemon and being really irritated. It still isn't a super fun part of the game. And although, yes, it is a part of Gold, Silver, Crystal's identity, I think it may have been a good change to make to shorten or remove the Team Rocket sections, maybe replace them with something, and who knows, maybe in a future update this will happen. Anyway, let's go show off the Claire battle before we get to what I think is the best part of this game, the Elite Four. Because no new Pokemon were added, I was interested to see what Claire would send out first, and it's Dragonair. We have Ice Beam because, unlike in the original Crystal, the move tutor that teaches Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and Ice Beam appears before the post-game for a much reduced cost. So that means Lantern can use Ice Beam and can knock out the first Dragonair and almost the second Dragonair. I go for Vaporeon here because it also knows Ice Beam. Unfortunately, this Dragonair happens to have Thunderbolt. Now out comes Gyarados. I'm not totally surprised by this. And you can also see I've evolved Weepinbell to Victory Bell. Weepinbell is not... Oh, wow. It uses Fly. It flies now? It flies! Oh my god. Worst line in movie history. Man, Anyway, Girafarig knows Thunderbolt. It doesn't one-shot Gyarados, but it two-shots it and it doesn't faint. Lapras comes out next, so this is a hybrid water dragon team. That would make sense, thematically appropriate. Lapras doesn't one-shot Kadabra, which knocks it out. And now out comes Kingdra. I go for Psychic. Surf knocks out Kadabra. Now only have 2 Pokemon left. Houndoom. I go for Bite. It goes for Smokescreen. Bite misses. Surf doesn't knock me out. And then I miss again with Bite. So it's actually in a better position than it started. I'm going to go for Ice Beam after it goes for Dragon Breath. And man, Ice Beam did a lot. Unfortunately, Kingdra had Hyper Beam and knew to use it at the perfect moment when I had just not enough HP to tank it. And so we're going to have to try this again. But this is a much more challenging battle, even though my Pokemon have better moves than they would otherwise. Normally, the only ice move I would have would be Ice Punch from Kadabra. So I really like how you feel more powerful, and yet it's also more difficult. A really interesting balance that was struck. Anyway, leading with Vaporeon is better because it has better special attack and it has better HP, so it's able to knock out both Dragonair. Gyarados goes for Fly. Great move on Gyarados. And this time I'm going to go into Lantern because since it's an electric type, I don't think the crit mattered. It's going to one-shot. Now Kingdra goes for Smokescreen. So this seems to be the strat. Lower my accuracy and use your leftovers recovery to slowly gain back health. And it seems pretty committed to that. Unfortunately, it caused a couple misses, but I tank the Hyper Beam, and that's bad for Kingdra because its Smokescreen misses, and then my Sleep Powder misses. And then it misses again. But the third one doesn't after a second Smokescreen hits, and that means I can send out Kadabra, use Psychic, Lefty's Recovery, another Psychic, and the special drop, but Kingdra doesn't wake up. The final Pokemon is Lapras. It is going to knock out Kadabra, but that's okay. This isn't a Nuzlocke. Victory Bell outspeeds, Razor Leaf knocks it out, and we have defeated all 8 of the Johto gyms. Definitely getting harder and harder, and that probably means the Elite Four is going to be next to impossible. Super excited about this. Alrighty, so Will is the Psychic Trainer. We have a Houndoom and 2 Psychic Pokemon. Should be easy. He leads with Girafarig. We still have Bite. It goes for Agility, then Rock Smash, but we're okay so far. Slowking comes out next. We get the Clutch Flinch, and we knock it out. Slowbro has better defense than special defense. Thankfully, it doesn't have a water move, so it can't knock me out, and we get another Clutch Flinch. Espeon outspeeds and goes for Headbutt. Girafarig has Earthquake, but after Reflect, that does like nothing. I can use Thunderbolt, which does slightly more, and Espeon's having a hard time knocking it out until it gets the special drop and then knocks it out with Psychic. Lantern is able, hopefully, to finish the job. It hits itself in Confusion, and then it hits with Thunderbolt. Doesn't quite knock out Xatu, which has Recover. Can Xatu even learn Recover in modern Pokemon? I don't even know because it would use Roost nowadays. But anyway, Kadabra outspeeds, knocks it out with Thunder Punch, and that was Will. Not too bad. I mean, on paper, I have a really strong team against the Elite Four. But as we've learned, they can use Pokemon not of their type. So far, so good. We also could run out of potions. This makes me hesitant to save between Elite Four members because I don't want to run out of potions and then have to go through these guys all over again, especially if they're really difficult. So Ariados is at level 50, which is way higher. Kadabra one-shots with Psychic. It doesn't one-shot Venomoth, who goes for Sludge Bomb. And I believe Venomoth's attack has been buffed. So that's great. Girafarig actually doesn't outspeed Venomoth, but it does wake up quickly, pseudo early bird, and knock it out. Crobat then outspeeds and goes for Bite, knocks it out. I have Lantern. I'm going to use Thunderbolt. You might wonder how I outsped. That was the Quick Claw. I had that equipped just in case, and it worked really well because we got the Paralysis, the Parahacks, and now we just have to deal with a Minimize Muck with really good attack. Houndoom Flamethrower crit is really useful. Vaporeon Surf does a lot, but Toxic, and this is clearly the strat, Toxic and Minimize. And now out comes Quillfish, something you don't see too often. Quillfish goes for Sludge Bomb, which does a ton of damage. It then goes for Toxic, Protect, great strat there. Sludge Bomb knocks out Lantern, but we have Victory Bell hopefully to finish it up, and it does. I don't think the crit mattered. So far, 2 Elite Four, 2 victories. I mean, the next one's Bruno too, so We know that's going to be easy. One thing I am realizing though is I'm running out of revives. Something I don't normally use in my challenge runs because, well, you're only using one Pokemon typically. But running out of revives could be really bad since we're probably going to need all 6 Pokemon, especially when we consider how underleveled they are. So yeah, not a great sign. I'm going to lead with Kadabra because fighting type, psychic type, this should work, right? Let's hope. Bruno leads with Hitmonchan. He usually led with Hitmontop, or he always led with it. It goes for Pursuit and one-shots. Darn. Next comes out Girafarig, and I outspeed in one-shot with Psychic, but here is Steelix. Wasn't expecting that. I'm going to have to swap into Vaporeon, which is still poisoned. I meant to use Full Restore. Thankfully, it one-shots with Surf and it outsped. Heracross goes for Mega Horn. Yikes. I don't have a flying type on this team, so I'm going to go for Houndoom with Flamethrower. Not enough. Cross Chop knocks it out. Girafarig outspeeds thankfully and levels up here after a Psychic. Machamp, it doesn't one-shot. Cross Chop does one-shot. We only have 2 Pokemon remaining. Victory Bell, I go for Sludge Bomb and knock it out. And now the final Pokemon's Hitmonlee, it goes for Meditate. I poison it. Body Slam's not enough to knock out Victory Bell. So far, so good. 3 battles, 3 victories. But the one trainer I have the worst matchup against is Karen. And I'm running pretty much on empty when it comes to revives. So all my Pokemon are going to be here for Karen. But if we lose many of them, we're not going to have Pokemon for the champion, which I was told is one of the hardest trainers I will have ever fought. We'll see if that's true. First things first, I lead with Victory Bell and go for Sleep Powder, but it's got a Miracle Berry. Thankfully, I'm able to use Sleep Powder through the double team. Sludge Bomb isn't missing, and I knock out Umbreon. That was a lot of luck. Gengar is probably going to go for Psychic, so I go into Houndoom. It goes for Hypnosis, but I have a Mince Berry equipped from all the way back when I was battling Morty. Bite is not able to one-shot, and I am confused, but I predict the Shadow Ball. I go into Girafarig, it avoids the Hypnosis, and I knock out Gengar. Murkrow comes out next. I'm a little worried about Pursuit, but it doesn't use it. It goes for Feint Attack, and after a second Feint Attack, I'm able to go for Thunderbolt. I can't knock it out, but I have it almost knocked out. Kadabra is going to finish the job with Thunder Punch, and there are only 2 Pokemon remaining. Houndoom, I do outspeed, but it does have Crunch, and it knocks me out. I have Girafarig and Vaporeon. I go to Vaporeon. Unfortunately, a very unclutch crit. I don't know what to do. I go for Girafarig. It outspeeds and Crunch one-shots easily. I go into Houndoom, which really doesn't have anything good against another Houndoom. Then again, its Houndoom has nothing good against me, and I get a clutch flinch, but that's going to be the battle. It outspeeds, one-shots Victory Bell, and all that progress undone by one of my favorite Pokemon, Houndoom, level 55. So it's not as if we were at the same level, and because I didn't save between Elite Four members, we're going to have to go back to the beginning, and you can see I'm starting to sell items because I realize I'm going to need more revives. But if you thought the Elite Four members I defeated were going to be easy, you would be sorely mistaken. Bruno actually can win without me making too many mistakes. You see, there were some ranges like one-shotting the Steelix. And don't forget, Houndoom can't really do much, Lantern isn't that strong. Bruno actually takes apart my team fairly well, even though I have 2 Psychic Pokemon, although one is half Normal type, which is a disadvantage for Bruno. I battle Karen again, and you'll notice something I'm very devastated that I did. I go for the same strat with Victory Bell, but this time it doesn't work quite as well. I mean, we got a clutch crit and we didn't miss as much. We do weaken Umbreon, but we're unable to knock it out. You may have seen the unfortunate thing I had to do, and there is Baton Pass. What a strategy to Baton Pass, but I can send in Lantern, and that actually scares the Houndoom. The AI might be better, but it's still exploitable. It sees it has a great matchup, but it gets rid of its buffs that it had via the Baton Pass. And that has put the AI at a huge disadvantage now, since it would have to set those up all over again. We can sacrifice Lantern when Houndoom comes back, and since we have Vaporeon, we're able to knock it out with Surf. Now out comes Umbreon, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch back into Houndoom. We're going to go for Flamethrower since Umbreon can't do much to me. Knock it out. Murkrow can't do much to me, especially if I crit. And then Gengar, although it can confuse me, we just need to hit once, and we don't knock it out. Huh, that's okay. Alakazam is here. It outspeeds. And while I'm very, very sad we had to evolve Kadabra, it feels like this hack has warranted the more powerful Alakazam. May not be one of my favorites, but without Eviolite, which isn't in this game, I don't believe any items were introduced in this game. Not to my knowledge, but if they were, I didn't really notice. It has the same items you know and love. We're going to lead with Lantern because I'm expecting Gyarados. But one thing I've noticed is that he loves to switch up the team order. For a blind playthrough, this is really fun because I have no idea what's coming out. It should be Gyarados. He should have a Gyarados, but who knows what's going to happen. This is Lance, the champion battle. Let's see how it goes. This time, he does lead with the same Pokemon, Gyarados. It goes for Rock Smash. It has leftovers, and it's able to knock me out with Hyper Beam. That's not great, but Alakazam has Thunder Punch and knocks out Gyarados, and it's at level 45. We can also teach Reflect. I'm not really using Recover, so I think that's what we should get rid of. Then again, how much am I going to really use Reflect? Let's just keep our moves for now. Anyway, Dragonite has Extreme Speed. It knocks out Alakazam. Then it goes for Thunder. It paralyzes Vaporeon by being able to hit with Ice Beam. What? Okay. Now out comes Zapdos. I wasn't expecting that. Sky Attack is a one-turn attack in this game. Great. What the hell is this? I have no idea what's going on now. In case you're wondering what my genuine at-the-time reactions were, the same. I can't believe there's a Zapdos. All right, that's going to be really, really difficult. We don't really have a great counter. I mean, if Lantern had Volt Absorb, that would be the best counter, but that's not a thing in Gen 2. I don't know. I have to think about this. In the end, I decided to level up a little bit more before I fought Lance again. We know Gyarados is first, and this time it went for Surf. We still don't knock it out, which is annoying, but we get Quick Claw, which is great. Dragonite comes out next. We have Ice Beam. Quick Claw activates again, and Thunder's not going to do all that much to me because I am Electric type. So we've knocked out 2 Pokemon before Zapdos knocks me out. Now, I don't really know who to go into. We have Alakazam. I go for Reflect, which I have taught this time, and that will make Sky Attack quite a bit weaker. Now I gotta decide what to do next, and even though Vaporeon has Ice Beam, I think Houndoom's the right call, but it can't knock out Zapdos either. Girafarig doesn't outspeed, but Thunderbolt doesn't knock it out, and that is the legendary Pokemon so far. I don't know if there's another one coming. Charizard doesn't actually have great moves for Vaporeon. Unfortunately, Quick Attack's not able to knock it out after that Surf, but we do knock it out eventually. Then comes out another Dragonite, and I have to put it to sleep. Unfortunately, it has a Miracle Berry, but then it goes for Hyper Beam again. We tank it, which is surprising, but we were unable to really do anything. Victreebel can be a really great Pokemon, but this is a flying type champion. It seems that they made Claire more water dragon, and this is more flying dragon, which is good. Each one has a theme, but that makes Victreebel very difficult to use and not able to do much to Dragonite. You'll notice I'm not saving in front of Lance. I'm allowing myself to lose, buying more. Oh wow, that's a clutch Hyper Beam miss. Buying more potions and revives and hoping the slight levels I gain from beating the Elite Four will help me. So unfortunately we get a little bit of bad paralysis luck. We still knock out Dragonite. Lantern gets knocked out by Zapdos, which sucks. It may have been able to do a little damage. Sky Attack actually doesn't one-shot Alakazam, and because it has a chance to miss, it misses, and that might be the opening I need to win. Alakazam does a ton of damage to Charizard. Houndoom has Bite, still no Crunch. We get the Clutch Flinch. Feint Attack knocks it out. Aerodactyl, Rock Slide, okay, that's fine. We have Vaporeon. Earthquake does a ton of damage. Surf does a lot. And with Quick Attack, it knocks it out. Now out comes Dragonite. Hyper Beam does knock me out, but we have 2 Pokemon remaining. Remember, Victory Bell can put it to sleep. It's going to Miracle Berry. It Hyper Beams. So I get 2 turns here. Turn 1, I go for Psychic. Special Defense fell. Turn 2, Hyper Beam. And Girafarig was able to tank that Hyper Beam. A Pokemon that doesn't get nearly as much love as it deserves. And what I loved about this Elite Four run is every single one of my Pokemon played an integral role in this victory. While the team is just my favorites, it's not really intended to have a type balance, as evidenced by the 2 Psychic and 2 Water types. They do balance each other relatively okay, and were super fun to use. With that said, there is still more game remaining, and this is where I will get into another one of my criticisms. Kanto has largely been unchanged. The gym battles are far more difficult, which is nice, but the very annoying fetch quest you have to do with the machine part in order to wake up Snorlax has been completely unchanged. The trainers have different Pokemon, yes, but like with Team Rocket, it's a very tedious section, and admittedly, I think there will be or may be an update at one point where this gets completely overhauled. But for now, Kanto is still kind of a letdown after this just amazingly fun, well done, great AI, just really fun battles. I can talk about the Kanto gym leaders quickly, but we all know what we want to see next. How is Red going to be? Before we get to that, however, I will talk about the Kanto gyms. I mean, look, they have much higher level Pokemon. They are tough. In fact, Surge is even going to beat me. I know, spoiler alert. At first, it looks great. Girafarig's doing a great job. Rain is set up, Lantern knocks me out, but don't worry, Victory Bell, it's great. Unfortunately though, Razor Leaf doesn't do enough to knock out the Lantern, but it does so eventually. Electabuzz comes out with Ice Punch. We have Alakazam, it's okay. Psychic, Thunderbolts, alright, you know, things are great, right? Ampharos, Psychic, Thunder, oh, that's not great, but we're still fine. We should outspeed. We don't one-shot, but we do tank it. Getting paralyzed really sucked because, well, we'd have a better swap advantage, but that's okay. Lantern should be able to take on Raichu, especially with a Thunder Miss. Oh, that's okay. We have Houndoom here. Rain Dance, uh-oh. I wonder what's going to happen. It goes for Surf. That I wasn't expecting. That's my bad. Rain Dance plus Surf, truly genius stuff. And why I like showing the Kanto battles, because it's little changes like this that make this game so much more fun to play, even Kanto. This team has synergy. Look at that explosion. That was huge. I wasn't expecting that. Constantly, the AI is making decisions more akin to something like the Battle Frontier in Gens 3 and 4. It has some really great ideas of how to get through my team. Great move diversity, type diversity, while mostly sticking with the type it's supposed to be. It's a lot of fun, and I brought up Pokemon Stadium 2. This feels a lot like I'm playing Pokemon Stadium 2 in the best way possible. It doesn't feel unfair. I'm still using my favorite Pokemon, but it's way harder than a classic playthrough. And it looks like it's going to result in another Surge victory. But this is not your Gen 1 Lieutenant Surge. This is Crystal Legacy Lieutenant Surge, and he is not messing around whatsoever. Anyway, after losing the second time, and then a third time, for the first time in a long time, I'm going to have to come back to a Kanto gym later. I can criticize the fetch quest, but no doubt a lot of care was put into these gym leaders, and man, I am using a multi-type team. I'm a little underleveled, but this game has actually been kind of difficult. I've also battled every trainer I can and even leveled up a little bit in Victory Road with wild Pokemon. This game's tough. Well, after getting to Saffron City, I get frustrated. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to let myself lose here. So I beat a couple trainers, but I'm back with Girafarig in the lead. Earthquake's still really good. Thunder doesn't knock me out, but because I'm paralyzed, I do get knocked out right after. Lantern synergizes well with Rain because of its Surf. Now, Surge's Lantern comes out, and you can tell it's more of a troll stall set with leftovers. I'm going to go into Victory Bell. I know it has Ice Beam, but hoping for a crit. I don't get it. That's okay. Alakazam now should be able to do some decent damage with Psychic. I get confused, and that means I'm going to swap back into my Lantern to hopefully finish it off. And we get confused. We don't finish it off. That's really unfortunate. I get hit with Thunderbolt. It doesn't paralyze, and Alakazam does knock out Lantern. Ampharos Psychic doesn't knock it out or come even close. Doesn't even get it halfway. We already kind of knew that. And then we get the Rain Dance. Remember, I knew that from the first battle, so I went for Crunch. Submission's a great move, but it doesn't knock out Houndoom. And that puts Electabuzz in a very vulnerable position to be knocked out by Quick Claw Lantern. We get another Quick Claw, but then we get paralyzed by Thunder. We get knocked out. Thunder doesn't one-shot Vaporeon, and Quick Attack doesn't quite do it. Thankfully, Thunder misses, and then the next Quick Attack does it. We win! Man, really difficult battle. What are the other 7 going to be? This is actually really cool. As someone who plays a lot of Gen 1, this is great. I decide to battle Erica next. She has 6 Pokemon, and they're super high level, but I have a much better matchup against her, and I would like Victory Bell to get Giga Drain. Venusaur, it goes for Sunny Day, so we're going to get some Sunny Day Solar Beam strats coming here. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of Sludge Bomb left because I was battling all the trainers and I wanted Victory Bell to gain some experience points. I forgot to heal. Sudowoodo comes out, which is thematically correct. It is, well, fake wood. Sudowoodo. It takes Vaporeon a couple surfs to knock it out, then comes out Executor. It's slow, so Ice Beam's going to do more than half of its damage. Now Houndoom is probably going to just mop up. We're level 50. Blossom comes out. It's a slow Pokemon. Puts me to sleep, which is annoying. Goes for Solar Beam, which takes 2 turns because the sun is down. It goes for Solar Beam again and hits me again. Man, I'm staying asleep a long time. But I do wake up. Never. I get knocked out. See, I faked you out there. Girafarig is going to have to finish this off, and it does a pretty good job. Psychic King Blossom. We get a Swords Dance Victory Bell without Sucker Punch, which isn't in this game. It's unable to outspeed me, and we first try Victory Erica. Much more difficult, but thankfully we have a much better team for Erica, and that's why it wasn't as difficult as Surge. If we had a ground Pokemon, Surge would probably be a little bit easier, but that Raichu did have Surf. Who knows? Anyway, the next trainer is Janine, and we should have the best matchup against her because we have 2 Psychic Pokemon, including Alakazam. And one thing I'll notice as Weezing comes out is notice how Smith Plays balanced this so perfectly. Anticipating you'd go from Surge to Erica to Janine, and the Pokemon levels match that, because level 63 is the highest I think we've faced so far. And I think only thing higher than that in actual Crystal is on Red's team. Anyway, Crobat quickly dispatches my Alakazam, which is quite scary. It's going for some Troll Toxic Confuse Ray strats. Very Pokemon Stadium 2. Venomoth is level 64, and it's going for some stally double team Giga Drain strats. We have Houndoom, which in theory has a good matchup against it, or at least against Giga Drain, and that does cause the withdraw. Unfortunately, Nidoqueen has a great matchup against Houndoom. I do have Giga Drain on Victory Bell, but I don't outspeed. I'm going to go into Girafarig. I don't outspeed again, but I do one-shot while Nidoqueen does not. Venomoth does outspeed, but it can't knock out Girafarig, and now Houndoom, which doesn't outspeed as well. Wait! Oh my gosh, that's Bright Powder! You never see that item in the base game. It's held by legendary birds when transferred to Gen 2, but it gives a very slight chance of missing, and we've actually lost to a trainer that we had an amazing matchup against. Of course, now that I know what Janine's team is going to be, I can set up my Pokemon more effectively, like putting Alakazam in front. Amnesia Weezing, interesting. Should have gone for Sludge Bomb there. Oh well. Tentacruel goes for Surf, but Alakazam's still going strong. Crobat unfortunately does outspeed. It's a fast Pokemon, that's unsurprising. I'm going to go into Lantern as I did last time, and the Quick Claw crit will probably secure the victory. Keeping Lantern at full HP for Venomoth. Double team, we expected that, but now it's going to go for Giga Drain. It doesn't seem to have another attacking move. It tries to go for Toxic. Don't forget, we do have Feint Attack, and I probably should have gone for that, but that's okay. Earthquake doesn't do half, and that means Vaporeon can Revenge KO it with Surf. Venomoth will knock out Vaporeon. I probably should have gone for Quick Attack, but that's okay. Toxic, there's the Bright Powder miss. Giga Drain, we knock out Venomoth, and now Muck. It's good, but we have a lot of Pokemon remaining. Still, look how tanky it is, look how strong it is, but Girafarig with Psychic is able to take it out. 1v3 or 1v4 is a tall order, and I'm impressed how good Janine was considering the significant type disadvantage she has against me. This is good stuff, guys. There are a ton of trainers on the way to Misty, so my Pokemon are going to be at much higher levels. I wanted to battle every single trainer, not just because this game is tough. Wow, great prediction there going into Quagsire. And look at that Amnesia. Really good strategy. Unfortunately, should have gone for Earthquake, one too many Amnesias. But I wanted to see every single trainer. Some of them use really cool strategies, like Misty having Kingdra is a really good idea. That's actually excellent. Thankfully, it doesn't freeze, and it doesn't seem to have anything great versus Lantern. It can rest, which is going to be super annoying, and I was expecting Sleep Talk, which I got. That crit was super clutch. Vaporeon's a great Pokemon, and with Shadow Ball being a special move, that's pretty good. But Lantern does have a really, really good matchup versus Misty. Cross Chop Golduck I wasn't expecting. Lapras is finally able to take out Lantern. But then we have Victory Bell to go for Giga Drain and restore most of its HP. But Misty's ace, Starmie, knocks it out with Psychic. We don't have a great matchup if we don't outspeed. And we don't with Houndoom. Alakazam, we do have Shadow Ball and Thunder Punch. I go for Thunder Punch. And since we outspeed and Surf doesn't knock it out, that's a W. That is 4 Kanto gyms down. 2 of them we have been able to do on first try, and 2 of them have taken multiple tries. I'm impressed. Now we have to go and battle Sabrina, who we have an interesting type matchup against. We have 2 Psychics and a Dark Pokemon, so that should spell an advantage for us. However, Sabrina's Pokemon likely have Shadow Ball. I'm not going to show you these battles with the trainers in her gym. I am going to battle them, however. But yeah, here's Sabrina. Giving these trainers 6 Pokemon makes a ton of sense. Mr. Mime comes out. There is no Fairy in this game, so it is super effective when I use Crunch. Next comes out Jinx. Jinx has lower defense than special defense, so Crunch again. Slowbro will tank Crunch. Surf doesn't knock me out, however, so that is 3 Pokemon knocked out by Houndoom. Wobbuffet, it can use Mirror Coat or Counter, and unfortunately, this time Crunch being a physical move hurts because Counter will hit, and that's a knockout. I then go for Thunderbolt to try and fake out Wobbuffet, but it goes for Safeguard, that's okay. Girafarig has Crunch, I get put to sleep, and we're getting a Hypnosis Dream Eater set. I wake up super early, again, pseudo early bird, which is Girafarig's ability in later games. Alakazam comes out after I knock out the Hypno, but not before it's significantly weakened. My Alakazam outspeeds her Alakazam because, just like in the regular Crystal, these Pokemon don't have stat experience, which will make mine, even at lower levels, outspeed and deal more damage. If you wanted to make a super difficult Kaizo version of this game, you would probably give them stat experience, and then I think you'd probably want to give free rare candies. And let me just say, I know I've said that I like this game is difficult. This is exactly the type of difficulty I would have wanted as a kid. It's not so difficult to have to know every single Pokemon mechanic, but what I did enjoy doing at this age when I was playing Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal is using my favorite Pokemon and trying to figure out the best ways to use them to win. The fact that we're not easily trouncing this game with Pokemon that, for the most part, are considered to be pretty good, just speaks to how well designed it is. There are only a few gym leaders left. Brock, and we have a great matchup against him. Victory Bell's gonna lead. It goes for Giga Drain and knocks out Golem, but Aerodactyl is ready. I'm gonna send in Lantern. It goes for Sky Attack and misses, but of course it has Earthquake. We don't quite one-shot. We do have leftovers instead of Quick Claw. That's not great. I go into Vaporeon. Earthquake doesn't do quite as much, and Sky Attack, which is 1 turn, does a lot, but doesn't knock me out. Unfortunately, to Revenge KO is Kabutops, which is quite fast, but unfortunately for it, unable to knock out Victory Bell, who Revenge KOs it with Giga Drain. It's then able to one-shot Omastar. Steelix comes out, which isn't actually a rock type, but is the evolved form of Onix. Lantern is able to use Surf and comes so close to knocking it out, but we're going to give Alakazam, who's a little under-leveled at this point, the KO. Tyranitar is the final Pokemon. I actually messed up and thought that was the last Pokemon. So this could be a little scary. I'm going to send out Girafarig to weaken it with an Earthquake. It goes for Curse. That's not good. Crunch, even with Reflect, is going to knock it out. But I think after Curse, we're not just going to outspeed, but we're going to one-shot with Giga Drain. Victory Bell, very good versus Brock. We had a good matchup versus him. What can we say? 2 water, 1 grass Pokemon. Not bad. And I think we have a good matchup versus Blaine as well. But Blue should be very interesting. As I battle Blaine, I should mention the creators have their own specific teams programmed into this game in Viridian. I don't have enough time to go over those, but those battles were absurdly difficult and really cool. Maybe in another video we can talk about certain other cool things about this game. But for now, I'm going to go and try and defeat Blaine. He's using Sun, which makes my water Pokemon not nearly as effective. Thankfully, his Magmar doesn't have Solar Beam, but it does have Confuse Ray, and it's done quite a lot of damage. Unfortunately, because it took so many turns, the Sun is down, and because of that, none of his Pokemon can use Solar Beam instantly, which is good for me. It also means I can anticipate Moltres using Solar Beam and go into Victory Bell. I'm just going to let Victory Bell faint because it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be super useful in this battle. Arcanine has Extreme Speed, which is really good, but Leftovers on Lantern with its great HP make it very hard to knock out. Ninetales doesn't have Drought because, again, Gen 2, it does have Sunny Day, and it's going to start going for Solar Beam, I thought? No, it went for Hypnosis. Interesting. Well, after it missed twice, I was able to knock it out. Not really sure what its strat was going to be, but unfortunately for Blaine, within Gen 2, it's just really hard to use a good weather team. If this had Gen 3 or Gen 4 mechanics, yikes, this would have been a very annoying battle with Solar Beams left, right, and center. Thankfully, we were able to first try it, and we only have 1 gym leader left. Well, Blue leads with Articuno, okay, and it, of course, has Sky Attack, which knocks out Alakazam instantly. I'm going to go into Lantern. It goes for Toxic, and I'm not able to knock it out. Then it withdraws to Machamp. I'm poisoned, so I'm going to keep Lantern in. Earthquake does a lot, and thankfully, Toxic doesn't knock me out. I'm able to knock out Machamp, and I'm even able to use Ice Beam to get Exeggutor to half health. Now I'm able to send out Houndoom to finish the job on Exeggutor. Articuno isn't going to come out. It's Gyarados. I don't want to lose Houndoom here, but Gyarados is really, really strong. I'm going to send in... I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose anything. I'm just going to go for Crunch. Double Team. Interesting. Hydro Pump doesn't knock me out, but unfortunately we get a miss, and we're not quite able to knock out Gyarados. It has Reversal, which is interesting, and Victory Bell is able to knock it out. We also can't outspeed Articuno, but Girafarig will, and there are just 2 Pokemon remaining. Arcanine has Crunch, we have Earthquake, and Crunch does way more. Now we have Vaporeon, which is perfect for Arcanine. It uses Curse, and we knock it out. We're at level 59. Alakazam goes for Thunder Punch. Surf does quite a lot. Recover does not enough. And we're going to use Quick Attack and knock it out. Nice! Once again, every Pokemon playing an integral role in a major battle. That's really cool. Now all we got to do is talk to Professor Oak, and then we can battle Red. All right, Professor Oak, open the way. What? I've already battled the Elite Four. So it turns out in Crystal Legacy, you actually have to do Elite Four rematches before you're allowed to challenge Red. Well, I'm going to go do that, but I also do something else. Because it's a day of the week where the rival is here, I'm going to use a really interesting strategy, which really made this a lot easier. I don't know if you're ready for this. So you might notice I don't have 6 Pokemon. We don't need to win this. I start with Alakazam, I go for Psychic, and it getting knocked out is fine. Now what I want to do is go into Victory Bell. This is the most important. Knock out Ursaring, and here comes Crobat. I just need Crobat to knock me out, and preferably not use Double Team a million times, because it is. I'm going to go into Houndoom. I wanted to go for Fly before, but here we go. It has Leftovers, and you can thief Leftovers, and whether we win or lose, we will have a Leftovers on our Houndoom. This process can be repeated until you have 6 Leftovers, 1 for every Pokemon. And since there really aren't many good items in this game, having Leftovers on all the Pokemon, especially with all the troll strategies that the AI likes to use, super helpful. For the sake of completionism, I'll talk a little bit about the Elite Four members. They're mostly the same. The big change with Will is that he has a Ninetales now, which isn't Psychic type, I guess. You get a little bit different for Koga with his Parasect, a Gligar, and that's going to make things a little different. And he was definitely tough, but nothing too difficult. Bruno has a Steelix now leading off, which is interesting instead of his Hitmonchan. He has an Ursaring now, which I wasn't expecting, but fundamentally similar type of thing. Karen still leads with Umbreon. I wasn't expecting that. And otherwise, her team is exactly the same. And as you'll notice, I'm sorry the footage is going by so fast, I was able to first try every single member of the Elite Four, and that brings us to Lance. I wasn't sure if Lance was still going to lead with Gyarados, but I was banking on it, and Lantern does one-shot his very nice leveled Gyarados. Dragonite is level 70, and it goes for Curse. Ice Beam doesn't one-shot, but because of Curse, its speed is lowered, and we're able to knock it out. Next comes out Charizard, and it does a lot of damage to me, but I do even more damage to it with Surf. Lantern has nearly swept through the entire team, and Alakazam will revenge KO Charizard. Tyranitar is a terrible matchup, so I'm just going to go for Reflect. I do actually live on a slight bit of HP. Now I can swap into pretty much whoever I want. I'm going to go into Vaporeon with Surf. It's going to one-shot Tyranitar, and Aerodactyl Sky Attack, especially after Reflect. Easy peasy. I've been very positive on this hack for the most part, but this is a change I actually didn't love so much, because the Elite Four, although they had some different moves and some interesting strategies, they weren't that much more difficult. In fact, it was a bit of a step down from the first battle, just because there's so many trainers and Kanto was actually pretty difficult. It would have been nice just to get to Red. I mean, it's not that bad. More content is always good, but it felt like a bit of a weird choice with the rematch battles being so similar to the original battles, with the exception of Koga. But now everything is done. Everything is done. All we have to do to get the final credits to roll is to beat Red. I don't think this is going to be easy, and there's no need to hype this up any further. Let's see how this went. Red still leads with Pikachu at level 93. It goes for Double Team, and although Victory Bell resists, because it's 30 levels lower, it's going to be a two-shot, and we don't knock it out. Alakazam does outspeed, but Pikachu clearly has Light Ball and obliterates Alakazam. This is not going to be easy whatsoever. Alakazam doesn't one-shot Pikachu either, so leading with it is a bad call. I don't know what we're going to do. I guess Victory Bell was the correct lead here. This time we don't miss after Double Team, and so we've made it to Snorlax at level 75. Not so bad. We put Snorlax to sleep, and we're going to go for Sludge Bomb. It wakes up immediately and goes for Body Slam. That's not great. Now I want to go for a physical attacker because Snorlax has much worse physical defense than special defense. I don't have a normal move on Girafarig right now, which isn't great, although I could teach one, so it doesn't do very much at all. Just to see, I go for Psychic, and you can just see how great the special defense is. Houndoom, I have Crunch. It does a lot, but Snorlax is just completely running through my team like it is tissue paper. Vaporeon will knock it out, and that's going to bring in Venusaur. We don't outspeed, however, and Giga Drain obliterates it, and Lantern is not going to fare much better. Yikes. However, did you guys watch the video where I beat Crystal with just an Abra, including one with only physical moves? Because there was a strategy I used there that might work really well. In the meantime, let's battle Red again, and you're going to love this battle. So, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, that means it's going to knock me out with Thunderbolt. But because it didn't use Double Team, I can go to Alakazam. We knock it out, and look at that! Mewtwo! With Shadow Ball! And look at that face! That is the face of a man that was not expecting Mewtwo with Shadow Ball and Submission. Well, it took me quite a few Pokemon, but we do knock out the Mewtwo. Of course, now Snorlax is just going to absolutely destroy my team as it did the last time. So, yeah, we can't do that. Man, wow, this is difficult. Anyway, If Victreebel could just survive long enough to knock out Pikachu, things would be a lot easier. Unfortunately, it can't, so this time when Mewtwo comes out, I'm going to go into Girafarig anticipating Shadow Ball. Submission is going to be a 2-hit KO with leftovers. I mean, and just, I have 2 HP to spare. Mewtwo knocks me out, but we do have Alakazam, which will outspeed. We still have Shadow Ball. Oh, we don't outspeed. But it doesn't knock me out, so hooray! Now I'm going to use Dynamic Punch, and this is where we have to get lucky. It's a 50-50 shot to hit, and then we need Snorlax to hit itself in Confusion. This doesn't happen enough, but I feel like, oh, that paralysis is terrible. But I feel like, oh, that crit is terrible. If we can get decent luck with that, I think we have the proper team to defeat the rest of Red's Pokemon. I get past Snorlax, so I think this is a new PB, but Venusaur, we've seen it before. It's just going to destroy Lantern. All right, let's just keep trying. All right, I'm going to send out Girafarig this time, and unfortunately, Pikachu one-shots it. If I outsped, which I was hoping an Earthquake one-shot, that would have been nice, but it seems like we're going to have to rely on Victreebel strats. I could level up Victreebel a little bit more, but I think this might work. I could also try some Sleep Powder strats. That could be super helpful. You see, if Victreebel could survive, we might be able to get Charizard or something out there, which would be good because the more Pokemon we have remaining for Snorlax and Mewtwo, the better, because those are definitely the toughest ones. Right now, though, we're really just relying on some luck. I need Sleep Powder to hit. I need Victreebel to survive. I need that one extra Pokemon. Right now, we're just getting terrible luck, but we know that eventually it's going to happen. It's just a matter of being patient here. Finally, we get the sleep. Giga Drain doesn't do as much as Sludge Bomb. I was just curious, and we have a full health Victreebel. And interestingly enough, it is not Charizard, but Snorlax that comes out. And I'm just going to damage it with Victreebel as much as possible. Snorlax actually stays asleep, and Victreebel completely knocks out Snorlax, meaning I don't even need to resort to Dynamic Punch, which is great. Charizard comes out, and I'm going to go into Vaporeon. It goes for Fire Blast. I'm worried about Sky Attack. It actually goes for Outrage, and because of lefties, actually we would have survived even without lefties, but whatever. Things are good. Now, I have Victreebel, but I'm going to go into Houndoom just because I want a little bit more offense. It puts Houndoom to sleep, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping I wake up soon, but I actually get something even better, a swap. That means I can send out Lantern, and Venusaur is almost knocked out. Easy to revenge kill for Alakazam. Earthquake does a ton of damage, but I'm thinking Victreebel is going to knock it out if we outspeed. We don't, but Ice Beam doesn't knock me out, so Giga Drain will do the job. Now out comes Mewtwo. It's probably going to go for Psychic, so I go into Houndoom. Houndoom, it's probably going to go for Submission, but I don't know what I want to sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice Vaporeon because it's got a bunch of HP. Now I go into Girafarig. It goes for Submission. I go for Crunch. With lefties, we should be fine. 9 HP remaining. And now I'm going to actually do something a little tricky. Oh, it almost worked. I wanted Submission to knock it out. Darn it. That was my whole plan. But as I send out Girafarig again, Submission will knock itself out. Venusaur comes out, we outspeed, and we win. What a game. What a battle. I probably should have had those in the reverse order. Who cares? This was so much fun. Thank you, Smith Plays, for making this. It was... Oh, wait. Huh? What? Wait, now there's Mewtwo? Okay. Is this going to be like a level 200 Mewtwo or something? I hate this. You finally beat the final boss and there's a secret... Oh, okay, I'm going to... You know what? We can save. We can save. It's fine. And wait, this is a wild Pokemon. It's a wild Pokemon. Oh, and we're healed anyway. I have my Master Ball. Okay. GG? GG! Let's go! Anyway, thank you, Smith Plays, for making this game. This was a ton of fun. You can also catch every single Pokemon in this game. That's something that would be really fun, but I'm assuming Smith Plays will do that at some point. Anyways, guys, this video was way longer than I anticipated, but it was a ton of fun to make. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back with another cool video very soon. Take care.